is JR, and I'm with the Spring Arbor Coalition, the one who put on this conference. And so we just wanted to give a brief. I just want to give a brief introduction of Austin. And so Austin here is with the workshop speaker. He's going to be talking about a little bit about his business. Is this business of Bound for Freedom and how he started it, and he's going to be talking about just his dreams for that and what he's been doing to accomplish that. And so if we could all just welcome Austin as our speaker, and we'll get started.
Cool. As Jared said, my name is Austin. I'm 26 years old. I am a graduate from Indiana Wesleyan University down in Marion, Indiana. So if you know soccer, Indiana Wesleyan Spring Arbor down there, soccer rivalry. So I apologize if I ever celebrated in a mean way or anything.
You were playing soccer yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I did.
So,
we won't go into that. Anyway, so I graduated from Indiana Wesleyan with a degree in sports ministry and a minor in business. And I also met my wife in my super senior year, so I was a 4.5 year graduate. And I met my wife Kelsey in accounting class, which was the worst class, but it turned into the best one because I got to meet her. So we both graduated with business minors, and we say together we have a major. So that's where we kind of get our authority for having a business, I guess. She's 25 and also owns we call it a photography business. She does wedding photography, seniors, families, all that kind of stuff. So we never ever thought we'd be in this position. Just to be 100% honest, we never thought we would be business owners. We just kind of thought, yeah, we'll do business on the side and we'll be missionaries. That was our main goal. The most important thing that you can ever know about me, and I share this openly and honestly, and that's the reason why I'm in business, is that I believe in Jesus. I believe that He died and rose again, and I believe that I'm a boring, boring person, and broken, and very broken person without Him. And I tell people, I really, if you can tell, if I haven't been spending time with Him, with God, in devotion and prayer, because I'm a boring person. It's just, I get monotone. Like, hopefully I don't put you guys to sleep today, but I get monotone, and I'm not exciting to be around. So with that said, I spent some time with Jesus today, so I'm feeling good, right? So because He's good, and but no joke, there's no reason that I'm here except for Him. Like, any of the connections that I've made with Spring Arbor coming to be a workshop leader, like, what? Like, JR was following me around today, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm not that kind of, I'm not a guy, like, hey, this is the workshop guy. I'm not like, that's not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is so out of the ordinary for me. And yeah, and so I couldn't have done it without Him. We couldn't have done this business, couldn't have done anything. I wouldn't have been married if it weren't for Jesus. So it's like, I owe it all to Him. So I'm putting that out there because I want you guys to know that. And if you want to have long conversations with me about your beliefs and that kind of thing, I'd be happy to do that, because that's why I think I'm in business, is so that people would get to know Him. But anyway, reasons I'm here in this workshop. I thought that I was supposed to speak kind of about what God is, what not just God is doing, but what's happening in the world today as far as retail, as far as purchasing power, as far as fair trade is concerned, as far as human trafficking is concerned. I believe that something is happening in this generation, this day and age, that is changing the face of the way business is done from now until forever. Like, I think there's coming a day where you will not be able to, like, people won't buy a product. They won't buy this mug unless they know that it is fairly made, that the people behind it are, like, not enslaved to do so. Like, I really heavily believe that there's a day coming when that will happen. And I believe it sooner rather than later. I think in the next 10 to 15 years, I really do, that people will go, is this granola bar? Like, are there slaves involved in this process? I mean, even our speaker this morning challenged me. Like, we have American Apparel shirts at our store, and I'm like, I didn't know that. I had no idea that American Apparel was like that. And even for myself, it's like, American Apparel shirts feel so nice, but why would I ever want to support an industry that, for myself, like, if you learn my testimony, kept me roped into a lot of that kind of junk, right? Like, that's my history, broken guy. And so I believe something is happening in the world today. It's changing the way things are being done, business-wise and everything. I want to speak more on what is going on in my business. I hope to encourage you. If you're thinking about opening a business, if you're, trying to figure out, how you can use commerce and that kind of thing to do more in raising awareness for human trafficking, sex slavery, those types of things. I hopefully, through our story, through my wife and I's story, Bound for Freedom, I hope to be able to share those with you and really go, this is what we did, and this is how it all came about. And then lastly, with that, I want to encourage you guys. Like, my favorite thing to do as of lately is just to dream. Like, we've dreamt of this business for about 2 years now, and it's finally kind of come to fruition. And I really I believe so heavily in dreaming. I think, and we'll talk more, like I said, about this, but we do such a good job at quenching each other's dreams in our day and age. We are so literal in the sense of when we say, yeah, I want to do that. Somebody comes along and says, well, actually, that's going to be really difficult because you got to do this, and this. And it just becomes this, we quench each other's dreams all the time. And we make people think that it's not possible to accomplish the things that are on our hearts. I was telling a story in the first session. If you're a little boy who's 4 or 5, like my nephew's, 4-year-old, if he tells me, Uncle, he calls me Gunko, I want to fly, right? My first reaction, my flesh is saying, well, it's going to be really hard to do that, Grady. Humans, we just can't fly. But maybe he's thinking he wants to be a professional hang glider, or a professional skydiver, or, maybe he wants to be a pilot, But me deterring him, me saying, hey, you're never going to fly. You're never really going to fly. You're not just going to come out of your seat and fly, right? But, me even saying something that could be a negative dream buster for him, and he may never pursue that. And that may be something that God created him to do, or that's something that he's really passionate about. So I really want to encourage you guys in your dreams. And as I'm talking, think about them, write them down. Keep a dream journal. We have one for our store that we write down everything that we want to see happen, that we want to be a part of, that we want to do. So keep a dream journal. There's nothing wrong with that. Little kids dreaming. It's fun to be like a little kid sometimes, right? So with that all said, I just want to quickly, why are you guys here? I can talk, but this is about you. I've been blessed to find a niche, to find a place, where I feel like we're accomplishing something, right? I feel like I'm stepping into my calling, more or less. But why are you guys here? What, 15, 30 seconds. What's the reason? So I'm going to start, since you're only the gentleman here, besides our filmographer in the back. I'm going to start with you, if that's okay.
Okay.
And you can tell me your name too, I'm going to write it down. So.
Okay, I'm Seth.
Okay.
And my wife and I have our own nonprofit organization.
Okay.
And we protect children from trafficking by, rescuing orphans, abandoned children that would otherwise be sold in the country of Myanmar.
Wow.
Just to be heard.
You live there?
No, we don't live there, but I've been there a lot over the last 8 years. Almost 8 years. 8 years. And over the course of 8 years, we've worked a lot in Thailand as well. And in 2015, we'd like to start some homes in Thailand as well.
You should be up here.
I worked with some different organizations in Thailand that focus on red light districts and, to help not just support our ministry, not just dollars, but as far as a business or whatever, if we sell something to help generate funds for the ministry.
Yeah.
But, I really want to advocate and promote the discussion and knowledge of human trafficking. So
That's awesome.
between advocating and then also if we did some type of business on the side, because our main focus is ministry. to help generate some funds, that would be a plus too.
Sure. And I'll hopefully talk a little bit about that. I've got it in my notes, but
Yeah.
remind me, ask me a question about that. Next two. Sorry, is it okay?
Yeah.
Next. Okay.
I'm Adri, A-D-R-I.
Okay.
I actually didn't know about human trafficking like at all until 3 years ago when this college had called a focus series, and it's just a day on a specific topic, and that happened to be human trafficking. And ever since then, I just wanted to learn a lot more about it and like how I can help and how I can advocate. So yeah, I've just been learning a lot, changing what I buy, and sponsored a child through Compassion International, and yeah, just learning more.
That's awesome. Thank you for coming.
Ashley. I'm an Etsy store and a YouTube channel, and I hope to open up a convenience store, kind of like a local boutique. Once I get some finances, student loans taken care of.
Yeah, I hear you.
You kind of support different NGOs and charities that way.
That's awesome. There's so much out there. Cross your eyes because it's true. It's unreal how much we don't know that exists, you know?
I'm Katie. I'm a student from Grand Rapids, and I'm just really passionate about this subject. And I just want to get involved in more than impact.
I'm Katie. I've been working in human trafficking prevention for the last few years. I just joined the team at the Set Free movement, so that's why I'm here. And specifically in this workshop, I just, I firmly believe that business has a huge role to play in countering human trafficking. From a nonprofit perspective, we kind of have our own niche of people that are already engaged and aware, but I think that business has a completely different scope of ways to reach people, and I just am really excited to hear more from you and to hear more about what you've been doing. So, thanks.
My name is Kendra, and I grew up in Spring Arbor and lived in other places for 30 years, and I live back here again now. My sister is Linda Adams, who's the director of International Child Care Ministry, so I've been involved through her in some ways with the issue. But my vision is, I worked in the tourism business for 30 years, and I have a lot of connections there, and I just think that aside from the whole sex tourism thing, which is a totally different arm of, most of it's above board business, and then there's that, but just the potential for the tourism industry to create positive demand changes in all kinds of ways within the business. I think there's huge potential, and nobody's really doing it that I can find, and so
That's cool. You can pass too. It's okay.
My name is Kevin, and I have a big heart for creating communities and for sustainability. Any way that I can learn to be able to help other people be sustained in their communities is big. And my biggest dream is to open up a shelter for domestic abuse victims, and as well as traffic victims. So,
Thank you so much.
What am I doing?
Just your name and why you decided to come today.
Okay. My name's Kelly. I am a student here and kind of been involved with this conference the past 2 years. And I am super passionate about empowering youth to help develop their communities, especially in an international urban setting, so in slum communities, and helping with poverty alleviation. So yeah, just working with teenagers from the streets and giving them the tools to lead their own communities. So.
So I'm not sure if you even were thinking about this, but you might have, as just people were sharing, you might have already started going like, oh, like that's close to like what I want to do. And a big thing I'm going to be talking about when it comes to dreaming is making connections with people. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but always keeping your eye out for people to work with. It's something that I struggle with, but really like be on the lookout. You know, the term has never been, I feel like it's never been more true today than it's all about who you know. You know, like when it comes down to it, like if you know somebody who knows somebody, like you're pretty, you can get around more or less. But it's so true, and so it is so important that, you know, as we're dealing with this situation, as we're dealing with human trafficking, as we're dealing with, you know, the products that we have, every cause under the sun, pretty much. But as we're dealing with these things, we're not going to accomplish it by ourselves. We've got to stress the community. We've got to stress that it's got to be a change of an environment. A whole community's got to rally around it, because some organizations can do it, but if people aren't looking out for it, it's just going to sprout up in another spot where that organization is not. And so, so keep that in the back of your minds, but we're just going to get going. I want to talk a little bit about Bound for Freedom, the store that my wife and I have created, because it's just got such a story behind it. Like we have just been through, like, it's just been a river of rapids, you know, like just kind of, we didn't have understanding of what was actually taking place. So Bound for Freedom, the name of the store, is a fair trade in what we call social justice merchandise. The fair trade is going to be handmade by people rescued out of extreme poverty, and the social, so like extreme poverty, human trafficking, but they're made by the people themselves, right? They're, you know, using their own hands to knit a hat, to make a shirt, to harvest coffee, to create, you know, chocolate, that kind of stuff. Like, these people are on the front lines, they're doing it, they're the ones getting helped, right? So that's the fair trade aspect. You have some products that are like guaranteed fair trade, you know, it has the mark, they've been certified and everything. And then you have products, you know, that are still being handmade, and they're guaranteeing that the people are not being enslaved, but they haven't gone through the rigmarole of becoming a fair trade organization. Does that make sense? So then we have social justice merchandise, which is basically products that are being made here in the States, for the most part, or in factories that are guaranteeing the workers are not enslaved to do so. And they're using their profits, their proceeds, or even their products to help people in need. So social justice, for instance, some of the ones that I brought are going to be like our soaps. We have a line of soap called Soapbox Soaps. And these soaps are made actually in Michigan City, Indiana, probably like 3 hours from here. And a little bit less. And they, for every bar that is bought, a bar is donated to a child, a community, a family in need. So it's kind of like the Tom's Give Back, more or less. But, you know, they have other bottles that if you buy a bottle of hand soap, it's like vitamins, or, you know, a month's worth of vitamins are being sponsored to a child in need. So it's companies that are using their products, that their goal is to, it's not, we hope it's not just like, oh, and we're doing this, you know, it's like a product, and then we're helping, but it's like their whole mission of making the product, making the organization, is to help people. So that's kind of what we classify as social justice. But in our community, we're from St. Joseph, Michigan. If you've never been there, it's a beautiful town to come visit, especially in the summer. Beach, huge, wonderful beaches. But we're in the main downtown area, kind of being a signpost for the community. We don't want to be a store though. Like, if people just refer to us as the fair trade store, we haven't succeeded in our job. Like, that's not okay for us. We want to be a movement. Honestly, we want to be change in our community. I want to see our business just spurring people like yourselves, you know, every generation that is under the sun. I want to spur them to become great, like to be the change in the world that they want to see. We want to be a place of education, right? So even in our own town, the place where I'm from, it goes St. Joseph, and then just north of us is Benton Harbor. Literally, there's a river, St. Joseph River, that divides the two towns. And I just learned this today, but it's in the top 15 for what our first speaker was talking about. Berrien County is in the top 15. Because the river literally divides two communities. And in St. Joseph, it is 90% white and 10% minority. And the average income is like 40 to 50 or something like that thousand, right? So decent. And then right across the river, literally, you drive not even a mile out from our store, drive not even a mile, and across the river is Benton Harbor, which is 80% black or 80% minority and 20% white. And the average income for that area is roughly 15 to 25,000, roughly like that range. I mean, literally night and day difference right next door. And
How did it get that way?
it used to be in the 60s and 70s. I've heard it was actually a really thriving town. And I think factory jobs closed down, and when factories closed, a lot of people started getting couldn't earn money. And then not only that, but I think corrupt government. I think some of the government officials had come in and squandered money, that kind of thing. So, I mean, we're in a night and day area. Literally, I think the reason we're in the top 15 for human trafficking is because of Benton Harbor. I mean, there's a huge amount of drug influx that's just happened. There is tons of poverty. I mean, it's just really, really impoverished. Lots of homeless men and then just the list goes on and on as to what's happening there. And so we want to be a place of education for our hometown. Like, St. Joe, wake up. Like, there's a situation going on. And not only that, but we're a tourist town. I mean, people from Chicago are coming in all summer long. That's where we make most of our business. And we want to let these people know that, hey, like, there's stuff happening, and you can actually be a part of the change. Like, not only do we would like you guys to buy product from us, but we want you to get educated and actually go do something about it, because you can buy a lot of product, but until we actually go into our own cities and actually become the change, like, nothing's going to happen. And so we want to be a place of education. We want to be a place of hope. My wife and I, being Christian, we pray over the business regularly, but not only that, we want to create an atmosphere where people can come into our store. And this is not just something you can do in a business, but it's something you do in your home, something you do in your dorm room, in your school, wherever you're at. Like, create an atmosphere of hope. Create an atmosphere where people will walk into the room and literally go, why does it feel so good in here? Why does it feel like I'm home? We've had people come into the store and literally say, I feel like I'm at my grandma's house, and I just feel so much peace, and I feel, and there's just so much hope in here, that kind of thing. It's really funny, I had a lady leave the other day, who right as she walked out the door, was telling her best friend or friend, she said, that place just had such a Zen atmosphere. I'm like, well, I didn't say anything, but over here she's saying it's got a Zen atmosphere, and I'm going, okay, she's taking it from the context with Zen being tranquility and like peace and rest and those types of things, and I'm going, you're just feeling the Holy Spirit right now. You're just feeling the fact that He is present in this place and that He is doing something here, and you're feeling it. And so, for our business, a huge part of this, when you walk in, there would be a tangible atmosphere change, that maybe for a moment the veil would be lifted off of people's eyes, and they would have a clarity of mind. They would go, wow, my eyes are open. It wasn't until I got to visit other countries that my eyes were open. But now we're hopefully bringing other countries to this place. And lastly is being a place of inspiration and dreaming. And that's mainly why I'm here this morning and this afternoon, is to really cause you guys to dream. Write down your dreams. Keep track of what's happening with them. Keep track of the places where you get denied, the places where you see successes, those kind of things. And I mean, all over the walls of the store, we have keep dreaming, don't dream too small, dream big, everywhere in the store, because we believe that change is going to happen through unique individuals. People who have passion, people who have, the gumption to actually take some action and go do something, and there becomes a point where it's just like, okay, I've heard so much, now I just have to go do. There's only so much hearing we can do, and then it's got to become action. And so we want to be that place. But it wasn't always this way. When we first opened the store, and this is the cool part about dreams, is they can be molded and shifted, and they can be shaped into whatever, for me, whatever God wants to do, right? And so we are actually planning on being a bookstore with a cafe. That was the reason, bound, like a binding of a book. But now it's we're on this journey in life, and everybody, we believe, is bound for freedom. Whether you live in America and you have the best job in the world, you still are bound for freedom, and we believe that you should know Jesus, and so it took on this crazy spin. We had no idea really fair trade, didn't even think about fair trade concepts, and it just developed. Our books fell through, and then fair trade, and we're like, oh, that was stupid. Why didn't we even think about that? and then it was a no-brainer, and we just went for fair trade. And so my wife and I, we want to be missionaries to Japan. Like our ultimate goal is to be missionaries to Japan, to take something hopefully very similar to what we're doing here and implement it there. My wife's half Japanese, so she has dual citizenship, so hopefully it'll be something that's really easy for us to do. But in the meantime, we have some kind of short-term goals, which I'll talk about. So, and from that point, we started 2 years ago. We started basically on paper 2 years ago, and now we are in our storefront, in the brick and mortar storefront. We've been there for about 5 months now. We did a year of fairs and festivals, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But we, in our first 5 months, just in our storefront, first 5 months we netted $100,000, like in sales, and it's like, what? Like we could never imagine, and that, I mean,
That's what you sold.
That's sold product wise. So roughly.
That's netted or gross? No, you said netted.
I said netted.
Yeah.
So I mean, roughly minus cost of product. I mean, we sold it, it's about $50,000, and it's not a ton, but for the first 5 months of the business, for not doing any advertising, just letting it word of mouth speak, like it's a big encouragement for us. And you know, we're like winter time is kind of a scary zone because it dies a lot in the winter. Businesses just kind of shut down, so we're fine. You know, like we're set for the winter. And it's not to boast about anything that we've done, but it's to boast about the fact that products like these fair trade products are actually like they're changing the way people think. And if somebody's got the possibility to buy a journal that is helping someone versus a journal that is, you know, just for their own benefit so they can write in, it's almost like 9 times out of 10 they're going to choose a journal that is helping someone, because it's like almost every person that comes into our store wants to help in some way. You see, it's so cool to watch people walk in because you go, their brain starts, you know, the wheels start turning and they go, oh wow, like, all this stuff actually is benefiting people. It's like they all want to help. You know, everybody's like, I wish I could spend more money here. You know, and it's like it's not because of anything that we're doing. It's because this is what is happening in our world today. People are becoming more aware. The news is actually playing stories of girls getting rescued out, and we're seeing things happen, and people want to be on the forefront of it. And so we are the last thing kind of along with our business is that we are what we call a for-purpose business. So you know, like, what is for-purpose? Basically, a for-purpose business is a for-profit business that desires to function like a nonprofit. The reason we chose this route is because as a nonprofit, some people get this bad taste in their mouth. And it's not anything bad to say about a nonprofit, but as an organization, as somebody who's selling things right off the bat, people sometimes for some reason instantly associate nonprofit with church. They're like, ooh, nonprofit. So if you have a nonprofit, don't feel bad. But I'm saying that's the reason that we chose a for-purpose business. And then not only that, but from a business standpoint, we want to show other business owners in the area that it's not all about the money. You know, like we're not here for the money. We're not here to take money out of our own. You know, like we want to, with the profits, we want to take them and put them back into doing things like building wells. You know, rescuing girls. You partner with other organizations who are rescuing people, and you know, hey, go rescue a girl. Like do that. You know, be a place where we can send out missionaries. Be a place where if other people have a desire to start a business, we can give them a startup. Here's a $5,000 mini grant from us. It's all yours. You know, like we want to do that because we've been so blessed in our lives. Why shouldn't we give it back? So it's sometimes strange for people to hear that we're for purpose, that we're actually for profit. But you know, we want to be as open as possible as business owners, and so that's the biggest reason that we did that. So and be taking questions, you know, I'll answer. I got to kind of move through because I have a tendency to keep rambling. So yeah, that's where we're at now, and we thought when we were, it's so funny because we thought that the brick and mortar store was our point, right? Like if it's Mount Everest, brick and mortar, if we can get a brick and mortar store, we're there, we're totally there, and you know, it's just so funny how it works because we strive for it. You know, at the beginning we did everything. We're gonna go big. We're gonna do Kickstarter projects and Indiegogo and do all these crowd fundraising things, and because we want to get that storefront, right? Like that's our goal, that's our peak. And now that we're established, we're realizing that that goal was that's just the floor. Like if that goal was the ceiling, it literally just became a floor. So now we're like, okay, we're at the bottom looking up and going, wow, there's so much more in store for this than we had ever imagined. So many more connections that we're about to make. So many more like lives that we're about to impact because of just pursuing that dream and then being open to more dreams, being open to more. So our goal is not to, like I said earlier, our goal is not to franchise, not to make money. Like we're not out for that. If you want to start a business that's similar to ours, by all means, if you want to use our business or our name, feel free. Like you can take it for all you want, and I'll give you all our vendor names. I'll give you all of our contact info. Like, and if we're even in the place, I'll hopefully give you a startup loan that you can go do it, because we believe in this model. We believe that it's something that the business realms are changing, especially in retail. But one of our goals is to change the world right where we're at. Like you don't have to be. So many people nowadays are saying, well, you gotta be a preacher. If you want to reach the masses, you gotta be a preacher. You gotta be up in the spotlight, and you gotta be doing this and doing that. And it's like we just want to be normal people, right? We just want to be the normal, like store owner. Hey, we own a store, and we're a happy married couple, and we love each other, and we want to be known for that, right? Like I don't care, like you can put me whatever. I don't want any of that. I just want to be a good at what I do. I want to be a good store owner and be the best I can at it. So, and change the community that we're in. Like Benton Harbor, I'm not going to give up on that city because I believe that change is coming. I believe that there is a wave of change coming to them.
Who does outreach in St. Joseph?
In the St. Joseph area to Benton Harbor?
Yeah.
Some of the churches kind of dabble in, but it's not lasting. It's kind of this term we throw out called toxic charity. It's more of like, oh, hey, there's a need, and we're going to assess that need, and we're going to fix it, and then we're just going to remove ourselves from the picture. Like we have a bunch of kids, homeless kids, or kids that are living in shelters, that type, or at-risk kids. A bus of, I've even heard locals from Benton Harbor talking about this. A bus of white kids will show up, and they'll play in the park for about 3 hours. And then time for the white kids to go away, and then the parents are standing there going, that didn't help us at all. Maybe the kids had fun, but like we need help, and so that's hopefully the culture that we're going to try to bring around, try to change with this business. But it's a great question. Does that answer it at all?
That's what Mike's husband used to make fun of the mission trips that the Baptist church would send our kids on, because it's the same deal.
And one of our mentors in the area actually said it best. His mentor told him, "Don't go thinking you're going to change an area unless you're committed to that area for about 10 years." And that's what we're doing. Like we're like, okay, we're here for at least 10 years. We want to see change, and because like that lasting change takes time. It's like a tree. It's like you got to plant the seed, and then you got to water it and wait till it grows, and then you got to take care of it, and you got to tie strings to it, and then you got to protect it from deer that are going to try to eat it, and all this kind of stuff. So it takes time, and sometimes we think we can just put a Band-Aid on a situation, and it doesn't work like that. You have to be there, and so that's what we want to be in our city.
Doesn't your store rent cost quite a bit of money?
A little bit, yeah. And I'll talk a little bit more about that because we've been blessed. We've been heavily blessed by some locals in the area. So in our endeavors, that I'll get to that. So yeah, our 3 goals kind of right now are to develop like a full-fledged cafe, or like basically another branch of the store where we can bring in and train people that are kind of at risk, or people don't want to take a chance on it. So a lot of prisoners, homeless men in the area, train them how to run a cafe or to run part of the store and bring them in. So that's one of our, and then selling fair trade coffee and having kind of like an art gallery feel as well to it. Showing that, which is so cool that there's a big art gallery here, like showing that art can inspire people and can bring change about. So that's one of our first goals. The second goal is along the lines of product development, which is where a lot of you sound like you kind of fall into. If you're looking to do a kind of like a center or a home, like a rehab home for people, really look into doing product development, because I think more and more stores like ours are gonna pop up in these next couple of years especially. And I think that products from women that are being, that are at risk, or from women's shelters, or, like the crayons that the people brought today, African kids making these crayons, and you in turn sell them, and people are like, well, I'll buy those crayons over Crayola any day, and so we want to do something like that within our community. I would love to see, and this is, me dreaming big, I would love to see us having a homeless shelter, more or less, the top floor, divided by men, women, family, and then like on the bottom floor, a production facility, where these people can have a place to live, but then come down and work. So they're earning their keep and they're being inspired to become great. Like they can make a candle or make a necklace or something. We love stuff in America, so why not make stuff that's helping people? It just kind of clicks. So that's our second goal, and then our last one is to inspire others to pursue their dreams. We would love to be a sending place, a place where, if you want to go on a mission trip to, hopefully wherever, we could scholarship you, or if you want to start your own business, like I was saying, we would help you finance that. But that you could come in and just dream with us, even like we have a cafe area, and just people can sit in there, journal, and just write out and honestly ask God, and not only that, but really to bring the message of Jesus Christ to other people. I think I did a program with Wyoming called Circuit Riders, and their slogan was to save the lost and revive the saved. And I think there's a mission field for people that are broken and hurting and needy. But I think there's a mission field for people that are, church every Sunday, reading their Bible. I think there's still a mission field, and it's to revive them. It's to say, don't quit, keep going, do more. You've not even reached your potential yet. Keep going. And so it's that reviving the saved aspect. And so we want to be that. So that's enough about us. Why is it so important to dream? And you guys, if you have any questions about the store, I'd be happy to ask them or answer them.
Well, I can see how your store would be successful in St. Joseph's, because as you say, it's a tourist spot, and I've been there as a tourist and everything. But Charlotte, we have like at least eight storefronts that are vacant, and then they have an organization can do just, it's a lot of talk, but nobody knows how to bring business back to downtown, and if you have to pay a high rent, then how will you be successful if there's no tourists coming to your town?
Yeah.
It's not a destination.
And it may be a way of getting creative about it. Maybe a lot of things that we've been even contemplating now is figuring out how we can inspire others, right? So one of the ideas that literally just popped in my head when I was in here was doing like foot soldiers in colleges. So you could be more or less a warehouse where maybe you have a lot of college kids or a lot of high school kids in your area that you can inspire, and then you give them some product that they can go out and sell it. And you give them a small commission and make a little bit of money on the side or something like that. But it's finding people that are passionate about it. And so, that's even an idea that came to mind earlier when we were all in the session. But that's part of, as I continue to go, part of it is being creative, and figuring out ways that, okay, maybe the downtown area is not the greatest, but maybe I can do house showings for people. Maybe I can invite my friends and my family over to my house and be like, hey, look at this product, it's really cool, and it's actually helping people in need. Did you know that? And then it starts this snowball effect, hopefully. So there's a lot of avenues like that. But I think it's important, because I think your dream, it sounds like it's, maybe opening a business in downtown, maybe. And maybe it's not you, maybe there's somebody else that's supposed to do it. But we live in a world so often that seems hopeless, right? There's so much, we hear all these statistics about human trafficking, and like we sell the documentary Nefarious. I've never seen it because I'm scared to watch it. So I'm scared that my heart's going to break so much, and I'm going to be so overwhelmed with how much is going on. And so I'm about ready to cry just talking about it, because I know. But we live in a world that's hopeless, but it doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. It's people like you guys that can bring hope, that can say, well, this is actually what's happening. There's actually a movement that's going around right now that's changing the way things are looking. And I think it's important to dream because we live in a world, especially that doesn't give God his bigness, right? Like, God is a big God, and all throughout the Bible we read of God doing big things at big times in big ways, right? Like, he is beyond what we can comprehend, and we don't rely enough on that, right? With this business, we were like, we don't even know if we can pay rent. We don't even know if we can pay rent if we jump on this business, because rent is high, and it's really high. And I mean, he has blown out of our mind. He has blown us out of our minds as to how providing, like how faithful he is. How providing. If we put him at the forefront and we view everything through him, we focus on him. It's like Peter on the water. Peter walked on water, and it's like that's what can happen if we rely big way on God, because he's a big God. He can do a lot. I think it's important to dream, because our dreams can come from our passions. Like it keeps us in touch with ourselves more or less. Like we have a passion about something. Oh, I want to see that accomplished, and and the world is waiting for people who have passion, right? I have a group of high school kids, and these kids just don't seem like they care about anything. Like they just kind of like, I just like playing video games and go to school and I run track. And, like nobody cares. But like the people that we look up to most, right, are especially in our society, are the athletes, are the actors and comedians, because they convey so much emotion. They have passion. They love doing what they do, and that makes them come alive, right? But we have so many. We need to come alive because the world is waiting for that. The world is waiting for people who are coming alive, because they want people to come alive. I mean, that's as simple as that. And so our dreams are rooted a lot of times in passions, and our passions come about to people. When you start talking about human trafficking, and you're like, guys, did you know that there's this much going? That's even happening in our own backyard. They have two choices: either they're going to go whoa, or they're going to go, really? How do you know that? And then they're going to get intrigued because you're speaking to them with passion and desire, right? So that's why we need to have passion, or we need to dream, because it brings about passion. Dreaming and risking, kind of one and the same. It's important to do them because it's putting God back on the throne. Again, in His bigness, it's going, God, you're bigger, and you're important. You're more important than any dreams, anything that I can do. And so you need to do it, because I can't do it by myself. I'm just not capable. Are we running? How am I running out of time?
It's done at 3:30.
Oh. All right. So we'll just keep going through these. But risking, putting ourselves out there, putting God on the throne, trusting that He's going to take care of us. When have you ever heard a story of somebody who changed the world by playing it safe, right? When does that ever happen? Every story you read, they had to take a risk. Columbus, right? Sailed to America, probably not knowing where he was going to, and he took a risk, and he said, And so every story we read, the main characters, the person who is changing it, you think of our most influential leaders in our society, think of Martin Luther King, right? He took it, he had to risk, and it ended up costing him his life, but he put himself out there for people to know, I believe so firmly in equal, in equality of people. And so we can't just sit there and do nothing. We have to do something. We have to take risks. Dreaming keeps us focused. There's a proverb says, without vision the people perish because of lack of restraint. And basically, all it's saying is we've got to have something that we're trying to grasp and attain. And I think our goals should always be filtered. Like if this is our goal, this filter that we should look through our goal should always be Jesus. We shouldn't look through Him, but it should always see Jesus first. And then if He moves over here, then that goal shape shifts with Him. Does that make sense? And it's important to dream because it keeps us grounded, it keeps us connected, right? Emotionally, if you were to share your deepest dreams with me, like what your hopes and aspirations are, there's a connection that's happening between us because you're entrusting me with something that you hold dearly to. Like you're saying, hey bro, like this is important to me, and I see the need for this, and I want to see this change because I hold it close to my heart. And that one hurts. That one really hurts when people don't when they abuse that trust. You know, when they say, no, it's not possible. And that's happened to us as a store. We put ourselves out there, and we put letters out there, missionary letters, basically asking, you know, raising funds and that kind of thing, and telling people what we're doing. And we got some letters back that were just like, I don't think what you guys are doing is a good idea. You know, and it was just like, this is our dream, like this is our passion, and you're like stomping on it. And so that one hurts because it keeps us grounded, it keeps us connected to others. And then it just causes others to come alive. And the same thing, if we're connecting with dreams, you know, then I can share mine with you. And then I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And then, you know, we share with another group of people. And it just becomes this thing that causes everybody to come alive. And you start making connections you never thought you would. We had a guy in here the first session who wants to do something within nursing homes, right? He loves taking care of old people, and he loves to see them with joy. You know, it's not really related to human trafficking, but if say somebody else in the room, you know, had a connection to a nursing home, you know, that he could get a job at, you know, it's like, well, connect with that person. You may never even have met them before, but connect with them, and it starts to do this thing where we're all looking out for each other. Oh, you know.
Who is that person?
Tyler.
Tyler.
I don't remember his last name. I'll point him out to you if you come to the
Okay,
thing.
because I work at a retirement center.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and so, and maybe you can put a plug in for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that kind of thing that happens, and then you start connecting, and it's like, wow, people actually, you know, believe in each other, and it just changes the way we think, rather than, oh no, that's not gonna happen. It's like, actually, I know this guy who knows this other guy who you should talk to, and you just link them up. Does that make sense? Oh, it's tough. It's changing. It's literally countercultural, you know. But that's the whole thing. Is it builds it. It just drives it more and more. So some things you may encounter in your dreaming, like you may just, you know, go to Thailand, right? That's kind of the next step, right? Yeah. So you may encounter, you know, in your dreaming for this next thing, that God fine tunes it. You know, maybe you have a specific city that you're focusing on. You know, I'm not sure, but maybe He's like, actually, I want you to go to this city. You know, and it's something. And all these kind of have a be something to them. So it's like, be flexible, right? Be willing to, like, okay, like I thought I had it, but I'm actually supposed to go over here, and I want to be obedient to that, right? So be flexible. Don't be so like, oh, I'm just gonna. This is it. And I'm going for it. And that's all, right? You're gonna encounter people who will come against you. It's part of the game, unfortunately. It's just nature of dreaming. It's the nature of, you know, whether it's, I don't know. All I know is that you're going to encounter those people. And smile and respectfully say thanks for your opinion, and don't worry about them. You know, really be strong. Be strong, be courageous. Know that if that's your dream that's been on your heart for a long time, don't stop. Pursue it. Like, keep going, because you do not know the implications of your actions. Like, we have no idea how, you know, I always think of Gladiator, but he's like, you know, eternity. Like, he talks about, you know, our actions will echo throughout eternity. And it's like, that's so true. Like, if I don't take the step to develop this business, how am I ever going to be here, right? How would I ever be here? Maybe I'm impacting somebody, maybe. Like, but if that never would have happened, if we never would take that leap of faith, we would be here. Because I would have never met Leah. We never, you know what I'm saying? There's these connections that just blow us out of the water. So be strong with those people. Hold firm to your dreams. This one's tough for me. You may want to go it alone. You may, and this is such a tough one for me. You may feel like, I'm going to do it. I don't need people. I'm just going to go develop my own thing. But I promise you, it's not going to be as sweet. It's not going to. You get to that point. Yeah, this is good. But to share it with others, to really like do it with everybody else, being open, you know, being okay with help is something that's so important. Because for me right now, my wife and I are the ones that run the store, right? We have like a couple people that come and help us, but we're really looking to we've asked to put a couple offers out there for full-time managers. But I am so like, I don't want to let anybody help. I just want to hold on to the business. It's mine. Don't touch it. Like, you're going to burn it down if you come in. Like, I'm just really, really bad about holding tightly to things. And it's not good. And my wife is like, Austin, you have a problem. And I'm like, you're right. Dang, you're always right. And and the thing is I've got to be open because I wouldn't be here if she didn't convince me, saying, hey, you need to have somebody else come in and help us. You know, if we're not able to do the things that even causes, you know, it could cause others to dream more and more because I was being so stingy with my own business, right? So be open. There's tons of free help out there. There's tons of people that want to help, but they don't really understand how to help a lot of times. You know, and be creative with that. So the last one is be ready, because literally your dream can like go like that at any moment. And if you're not ready to take that next step when there's a green light, you may miss it. And that is huge, because literally the spot that we were looking at was being looked at by 4 or 5 other people in town. And you know, who knows if we would have waited another week to check it out, if we would have had it. And so, so you got to be ready. It's so imperative that, you know, your spirit's ready. You know, as much as you're learning as you can, be ready for it. Just be ready. So what's next, right? You guys are here. You've all got dreams. You've all got plans. You've all got visions. And this is kind of repeating a little bit, but start small, right? Start as small as you possibly can. You know, if you think, you know, maybe starting a business is something that you're dreaming for, you know, find one company, you know, maybe put $300 out there, order in some product. I mean, for $300 for these notebooks, if you thought a lot of people would want notebooks, you could probably get 60 notebooks, right? And so start small. You know, start with one product that you think a lot of people would like, maybe bags, or I don't know, you know, or coffee. Coffee is a huge one. Hey, I've got some really good coffee. Like, would you guys want to try it? It's fair trade, and then you can open that conversation, dialogue that. You know, for us, we did fairs and festivals. We would go to our local town fair or local farmers market, and we would, you know, we had like 4 brands when we started, and we're currently at 35 brands now. Like, you know, it just keeps growing because, you know, we started small, and you just let it snowball effect. Don't despise it. I mean, it's really hard to be like, be at the top of it all, I want to have a store right now. But don't despise that, because those small beginnings, they're sweet, and it just is like, wow, that was a really fun time. I got to enjoy it. There was no pressure, you know, not a whole lot of like financial mumbo jumbo that I had to work with. It was just like, it was a sweet time. So start small, right? Pursue the free resources. If you want to start a business, if you want to do anything like where it involves taxes, there are tons of free resources out there. SCORE International is a huge one, usually made up of old, like veteran business owners. They come in and they give mentoring to people. So still, you know, use the free resources. Ask. Don't be afraid to ask people. Get involved in the church. Like, you know, say, is there anybody interested in sponsoring me as a product missionary? You know, where I go into houses and I sell this specific product. I also talk about human trafficking, but in the end part, you know, I talk a little bit about Jesus, and this is why I do it. You know, and ask people, you know, would you be willing to, you know, help me with $300 to just start up, right? Be persistent. Again, that's along with the be strong. Don't quit on it. I promise you, like, fruit will come with it if you don't quit on it. But everything's going to want to try to get you off the path and not pursue it. Yeah, and just be liquid, right? Like, you know, if a rock is thrown into the middle of a river, the river just goes around it. You know, and sometimes, you know, rocks are thrown in, and you just have to be liquid with it. You just have to be, you know, like pursuing it, like always on that mission to find the goal. And you know, if God says, "Hey, that door is actually closed. I'm gonna put a rock there and redirect you this way," be okay with it. Like, we have been in the pursuit right now of a cafe, and we've had 3 locations shut down in our face, and so until like he says no, or he lets us open this business, we're going to keep pursuing that because we know that's a goal, and we're going to be okay if the door shuts in our face. And lastly is get creative, right? Ask for help being creative. I mean, there are so many different things that can come about if you just let God kind of go, what do you think, God? Like, what do you want to do with it? You know, for us, like I said, we did as missionaries. We raised funds as missionaries. We said, if anybody would be willing to help us, start this business, basically you would be helping, supply so many people with months of clean water, or, because of the products that you're able to help us buy. And so yeah, that's what I have for you guys. And I know we're pretty much out of time, but is there anybody who just feels like you just want to share your vision, share your goals, and just put yourself out there? And maybe somebody who's like, yeah, I want to do that, but I'm kind of scared. I just want to give this opportunity to you to do that. If you have any questions for me, like I said, we have a couple minutes. I'll start with questions, and then anybody wants to share their dream, feel free to chime in. So.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With what's going on in, what'd you say, Baton Harbor?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you guys considered having like a second branch in Baton Harbor where like you're actually in the community where, yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it quite a bit, and it may be more along the lines of we partner with somebody who's already there. Like there's a cafe, kind of like the one I was talking about that we want to do. There's actually one that's already there, and so partnering with them. A lot of times we don't need to reinvent the wheel because it's something already exists. So it's coming alongside of them and having a presence, with them and saying, hey, we're going to partner up together because we both see the need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But we have talked about it quite a bit, and it's one of those things that we're like, shouldn't we? And so that may be where more of the product development one comes in that too. Where we're a presence, but we're also a help at the same time. So, thank you.
I'm just wondering about the products that you have, because it seemed, I saw your table earlier, and it seems like you're breaking out of the traditional fair trade, like we have chocolate, we have coffee, and that's it. So where do you feel like you're at this point? Where do you think that in terms of ethical purchasing products are going? Like, do you see kind of more of an expansion of, now we have soaps too, and we're getting in hygiene items. Like, where do you feel like you're going?
Oh man, God put me in this business for a reason because I love to buy things, and it's really nice. It's really nice to continue to expand, and that's been that's been such a how much do we spend? Where should we just draw the line? And it's really just feeling them out. But, if we get asked a lot of times by our customers for specific products, we really look heavily into bringing those things in. But I mean, that's just a smattering of the things that we have. We do have the traditional like coffees and teas and some food items as well. We would love to branch out more into clothing, more stuff. We try to keep it, the biggest thing I say is we try to keep it things that we use on an everyday basis. Journals, soap, clothing, coffee. Like you saying about the traditional norms of fair trade, most people associate it with kind of the stuff that sits on the shelf and it's just like a decoration piece. And that's kind of our thought. We want to be, we were looking at camping stoves. Like so random, like that's a lot of our stuff is just so random, but if you bought a camping stove, basically one is given to a community in need in Africa so that they can cook, and it's like a self-sustaining, like you just put wood in it and then you ignite it and then you cook on top of it. So, it's just, you gotta have a good feel for it, I guess. But, does that answer the question?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And do you do online orders? Do you ship?
We do not, just because it is my wife and I, and we have such a random, eclectic assortment of things. We have some of our products up online, like coffees and soaps, stuff that's more consistent. But something, like I said, that idea of doing like foot soldiers and then, letting people know that, hey, there's somebody that represents us on, Spring Arbor's campus or something like that. That people can get products and then that person can also get paid as well. So that's kind of our, which one do we go for in the next step? We like the online sales, but at the same time, we're just not kind of manpower. And that may be when we invite somebody in to be solely online.
Right.
Any other questions? Cool. And did anybody want to share it? Like, you felt like
My dream with the shelter, it's not just going to be one. We're gonna, you know, bring people in. I don't know who we are yet, but like it's just a play over and it's been a year in development. We're gonna bring people in, and you know, like it'll be like a year or so of rehabilitation, something like that, and then we're gonna train them to do what we do if they want to. It's gonna be a choice, of course, but like if they want to help other people, because I know usually the majority of people that you know go through rehabilitation stuff who've been abused, they want to help other people like that. And I know this because I am one, you know, and I know a lot of people that are like me, and you know, I just want to be able to facilitate that and allow people to be able to help. And then after we have that, you know, planting another one and not just having one, but making it kind of like a global thing. That's what happens. I guess whatever happens, happens. Whenever it happens, I still got 3 more years in school, so.
Check out the organization Thistle Farm. It's an organization based out of Nashville, Tennessee that is rescuing women out of prostitution, drug addiction, and abusive relationships, and is giving them the ability to make basically lotions, hand cream, body butter, that kind of stuff. And so there may be a good contact that
Did you say Thistle Farm?
Thistle Farms, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a flower, you know, thistle is kind of the most underrated flower, kind of broken and rough, but you're saying there's still beauty within that. So great company, and they've got a lot going for them, so check them out. Anybody else? Cool. Well, with that, you guys are good to go. Thank you so much for coming in, and just bless you guys. I'm enjoying this course. Yeah, in the packets, there's a little brochure from Bock. Got a little blue and yep, it should be in there. And then on the bottom, if you guys have any questions, anything, email us. My phone number's on there, my personal cell phone. So yeah.